Okay. This is from the Facebook module again, and it's the podcast with Mari about posting updates outside of office hours. And this, because normally if you work somewhere, then after work you're not thinking of work, but it might be a good idea to actually post stuff outside of office hours, because that's when everyone else is on Facebook. Some are on Facebook also during office hours, but me, for instance, I go check Facebook also during office hours. But and that's obviously then it creates you need to have like a new model then for the company that if no one is working there outside office hours, then what you're going to do, you cannot really ask your employers to start working for free outside office hours. You have to make some kind of deal with them, perhaps, that will be a part of their work time, maybe in the evening or in the weekend. Or what could you do? Suggestions. How do you solve the fact that you see that all your Facebook followers are online on Saturdays, but your store is closed on Saturdays and everyone is off? What do you do then? Yes. You schedule your posts. Then you can create the posts while you are at work, or maybe your staff or whatever, and then you schedule them to be published at those times when your audience seems to be mostly online. So scheduling is good for two things. It's for the timing, and it's also to get the consistency, because then that's why I wanted you to make like 10 update ideas, because it's so hard to come up with those ideas, and it just gets really random. So it's better to make a strategy. And ideally what a company should do is perhaps make 10 Facebook updates at a time and really set aside time for this. And understand that it's nothing that you do like with your left hand late at night, because then it will not be good. You need to allow this to take time, to think about it, to plan, to make a strategy. Then you can save the time back by at the same time making several updates and schedule them to be posted. The viewer doesn't know about this. For them it seems like you posted there and then, even though you might have scheduled something weeks in advance. Then there's obviously a danger to scheduling, and that's something can happen that makes your posts seem very inappropriate. For instance, if you have jokes about the president and you schedule it and then he dies or he's murdered the day before, and then the day after you come with a joke about the president, that's not going to work well. I remember I used to work in radio, and there was a school shooting. No, there was a police being shot. I think in the late 90s or something. There was a murder of one or two policemen in Finland. And the same morning, on one radio station in Finland, they played the song "I Shot the Sheriff." And I don't remember what happened, if they were fired or what happened, but there was a lot of criticism. Because radio, nowadays, people that listen to radio, they believe it's like the good old times where you have like records and now let's listen to this. It's pre-programmed. When you work at radio, you just press next, 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 and all songs and all the jingles and all the commercials and everything, it just comes from a playlist. So, and that's made like the day before or something. So in that it was just a mistake. I mean, the person creating the playlist, they couldn't know that a policeman was going to be shot, and it was going to be like huge news in the whole country. So, but it was the host's fault when he saw the song not to delete it. They should have understood that it's inappropriate. So it's kind of the same thing with scheduling things. It's a small risk that something could happen in the future that makes it inappropriate. So that has to be kept in mind. It might be a good idea to the post that you schedule that they are harmless and not in any way controversial. So no matter what happens, it's okay that they are, even if you forget about them, it's okay that they are being posted. According to CNN, why does Facebook want to know so much about you? You know, Facebook, they start by asking you your birthday. And when everyone was new to Facebook, they thought, that's nice. Because then when it's your birthday, they're going to say happy birthday. And I think now probably everyone knows that that's not the real reason. It's to segment you to a certain customer age group. The same, they want to know where you live. They want to have access to this and that. They also track what you do. They see what pages you like, for instance. And all this information is sold. And by now you know this because you have practiced to target. So we probably here, we didn't target that specifically, but you can target also based on interests, for instance. And then Facebook, they collect information because many Facebook users, they click their interests and tell Facebook what they're interested in. But they can also see based on your behavior online. You don't need to tell them. They know already anyway. And you remember the CNN clip, they can, based on what you do on Facebook, they can tell your race and your religion and political standpoint. Because they have probably very clever analyzing algorithms that make you into a certain kind of person, and then they can sell you, basically, to advertisers that want to target people just like you. So the short answer is the more they know, the more they can target ads at you. Okay, so let's talk about YouTube. And we talked about pre-production. And this video made by group, was it 6 or 7? 7? 7. Which was very well edited and had a lot of scenery from different places. Was it group 6? Okay. That was pre-produced a lot. And that means that in order to make a good video, it's not just what you do when the reel is running and when you have pressed record. It's the planning of it. It's like building a house. You don't start by just start building. I mean, normally you would want to have blueprints. And you want to have a 3D model, at least virtual one, and to see what the rooms will look like, and you can play around with the house and turn it around. That's the equivalent of pre-production for video, and it's basically everything that happens before you press record. So it's your choice of equipment. It's your choice of how you use the equipment. For instance, that video they chose to use voice recording. Why would you do that? First of all, it's a fairly easy way to get good audio, because then it doesn't matter where you stand in reference to the camera. So you can do much more. Like them, they can walk around outside. I can walk down the Great Wall or whatever, because the sound is put on afterwards. And it's also easier, one thing, if you make a script, if you have voiceover, then you can shift the scene very often. You can use a lot of film material, because if the sound is to come from your what you have taped, the sound quality will change all the time. Because if you film something inside, and then 5 seconds later you say something outside, the acoustics are very different. And that's gonna feel like something changes in your video. And it lowers the quality slightly. But if you do a voiceover, then the audio is consistent. So I think it's a pretty good trick to make a video with very simple means to make it more professional. Then it perhaps loses a bit. Now this video was, I think, very well made. A risk with voiceover could be that it gets boring since you don't see any talking faces. So maybe one idea could be a mix, where you have a narrator, someone telling something, but sometimes a person actually appears and speaks to the camera. That's also one idea. So here you see examples. Writing a script, some of your videos you were reading from a script. That's also the pre-production. The tricky part is to read from the script and make it appear as if you don't. What's the tool if you want to appear as if you are talking to the camera, but you are actually reading from a script? What should you use? Yeah, teleprompter. And I think most of you were upstairs when I showed you the teleprompter that I have built myself for like €5. It just that you need a glass that has an angle so the camera cannot see it, but you can see a reflection of the text. So it's very cheap. You need to have an iPad, but as long as you have an iPad, it's very cheap. So that's one trick to be able to read to the camera. Yes.
That day you mentioned an application on Apple.
The app is called Over to You. I think over with the the number 2. It's called Over to You, and that's for the iPad. But I'm sure there are hundreds. So you could look for like teleprompter app if you cannot find that one. I'm sorry? For Android, I don't know, because I never use Android. But try to find teleprompter app, and then you will definitely find something. And I think the funny part about like now iPads and the cameras you have in your phones, the stuff you can do now, if you very, very cheaply, is better than TV was in the 90s, like national TV. Because the prices have and the quality has gone up so much. You see, the films we watched here, as long as the lighting there was good daylight, you have a really crispy picture. It's HD, a really good picture. And we didn't have that on TV just 15 years ago. That's pre-production. So what's post-production? Well, post means after. And that means after you have pressed the stop recording button. Anything that happens afterwards, that's the post-production. And that's editing. And you can do a lot. You can change the character of your film entirely, just depending on the way you edit. Whether you have short clips. Have you noticed, I think it's very annoying, but many YouTube clips nowadays, they are cut up into pieces. It's the same person speaking, but as soon as they've finished the sentence, there is no pause. It's a break, and they start the next sentence. They're kind of like interrupting themselves. And I think it's made for pace, so that it feels like the tempo is very high. But I find it very annoying to watch. Maybe it's something that you young people like. There was a podcast with a guy called Owen, and he was asked why he thinks that video is becoming so important. It's been said like that 2016 was the big year of video, and so was 2015, and now it's 2017. Many, in terms of marketing through social media, more and more companies start using video instead of just web pages, pictures, and so on. And, well, you can read yourself. It brings... I thought the video we just watched here, where there was like really clear eye contact, crisp picture, the person was sitting close, I felt that I got a feeling that the person is talking to me. And I think that's probably an advantage of having a person talking, looking into the camera. Maybe an advantage over voice recording, voiceover, because you get perhaps the personal touch more. And it's one of these social medias where you feel that even if we communicate in a digital way, there's still a human element, because you see the human face, you see gestures on video, stuff that you cannot see from a picture or from text. So that's one reason why video is becoming more and more important. Then we had Owen talking about the 3 Ps of a YouTube strategy. Now, a YouTube strategy and a YouTube production are 2 different things. A strategy is how your YouTube channel, and a plan for not just one clip, but for everything you post on YouTube. Because you should have an idea. It's not like you post one movie or one clip and you get 1 million followers and people rush to your store. It's marketing through social media and with content is it takes a long time, and it's to build a relationship. And probably I do this a lot. People are not patient enough. I'm especially like that. You should be patient. And I think Owen or somebody said that you should start with coming up with 100 ideas for clips before you start recording anything. Because that's the strategy. Then you should think, what is the message I want to convey? And make all of your clips so that one clip is about this, and then another clip suddenly is about something completely different. Then your audience, they do not get a sense of what they can expect from you. And now when I say that, I think of my own clips, and it's like, oh, once then I'm singing, and then another clip I'm talking about Beijing. They're not consistent, so that's not very good, and I should do better myself. Platform. One of the P's is that when you make videos for YouTube, it should be made for YouTube. You can upload stuff to YouTube that is an audio file, for instance. But then there is no moving picture. So then you can do nothing else than just put photographs or something, and that is not very engaging. That's perhaps better to use for a podcast, to have audio. Whereas when you use YouTube, you should have moving pictures. You should have a video. Purpose. This goes back to what I just said, like what's the purpose of your films? This is having a clear goal. What do you want to do? Do you want to grow a larger community, or do you want to send people to your website, and so on? And people. No, I have to read these myself. I think this one is also well, people normally, if you go on YouTube, then you probably, most people look for something entertaining or something educating. I go to YouTube if I want to be entertained and there's nothing on TV or Netflix that I want to watch, or if I'm looking to solve a specific problem. I used YouTube a lot when building the studio, like about lighting, about how to use green screen, where to place the lights, how to build the prompter, and basically taught myself how to make video clips from YouTube. And I think those are the 2 most. So you should think about the content, probably one of those 2, either entertaining or something educating. And what does creating a funnel means? This is true for all social media, because even if I say and I emphasize to you that you should create content, not advertising. You should not try to sell. You should make stuff that's entertaining and funny and to make people like you. The ultimate objective is to get money from people. So it's still marketing. It's still trying to sell something, but it's telling them later on when you have become friends. So a funnel, do you know what a funnel is? It's if you pour water into a bottle, it's very hard to not to splash water around. So it's in Swedish tratt, and what's a tratti in Finnish? Because, and the point is that you try to get people closer and closer to making a purchase. And therefore, when you when you have these videos like content, though on the surface it seems like you're not trying to sell anything, you should still try to hook the viewer in some way. It gives here examples of free trials, ebooks, I think it should be webinars, not websites. You know, sometimes you get, if you go somewhere and if you watch something, they say they have a free webinar, which is basically a lecture online that you can join for free. Or you can download their ebook. Normally, why people want you to download their ebook, or they can email it to you. Normally, you cannot download it. They can email it to you because they want your email address, because they want to make an email list to send advertisement to you. We didn't bring it up in this course. It's kind of like not the newest sort of social media, but like email marketing. It can still be quite efficient. Nowadays there are spam filters, so it's harder to get through. But I actually I made some money from this last week because, as I said, I have this trip to India, and I heard from the travel agency that there are 8 places left. And that's something I really needed to hear, because then I can go on Facebook and say, like, now there's 8 places left. Have you ever been on booking.com or hotels.com? It always flashes like 3 rooms left. 5 people are looking at this hotel right now. Why do they do that? It's to give you a feeling of like, oh my God, if I don't buy now, it will probably run out. And it's something with the human psychology that you might not be that interested in something, but if you suddenly hear that you cannot get it anymore, then you become much more interested. So for me, I cannot write, oh, now it's only 20 spaces left or 20 places on the trip, because that's a lot. So it's hard to sell the trip in the beginning, because people think like, oh, there's time. Let's see if it even will be a trip. But for me, when I knew that, or to be honest with you, it wasn't actually 8 places left. It was 11. But I lied and I wrote, because nobody can check. I cannot do, if I did that in the beginning, and I said like, only 5 places left, to try to create this feeling. And then still there's only 10 people signing up and there will be no trip. Then people will know that I lied. How can there be no trip? How can it be not enough people when you said that there's only 5 places? But now when I knew that it's already enough for us that we will go with like 12 people or whatever, then I kind of like twisted it a little bit, and I knew it was 11, but I wrote 8 because 8 sounds much less than 11. And in 2 days, 6 people signed up. So it worked. And also I was coming to email because I have on my trips I always have people to make a review and give it to me, and I want them to give me my email address. I have this in the cloud. I make this picture service where people can send. I have them to send their 3 best pictures from the trip. The real reason I do that, I tell them it's so we don't need to email each other, and we can exchange pictures. But for me, it's really about to get their email address. So I have maybe 150 email addresses from people that have traveled with me during the last few years. And the other day, I sent an email to them saying the same thing. It's just like 6 places left or 4 places left, and 2 signed up because they replied to my email and said, I'm talking to my husband. I'm really interested, but I'm trying to convince my husband. And then the same day, because I wrote back to them and I said like, okay, now it's only 4 places left, but I can let you decide today. Then half an hour later, she emailed back, oh, we have booked. So it creates like the sense of urgency, like, oh, it's slipping through my hands, so they suddenly want it. And it works also with email. But it's not really considered social media, I guess. So, yes?
What other ways do you use to get emails from
None, really. No. I should. It's probably a good idea would be, in my case, I could make it perhaps a guidebook. It's my audience is quite small, so it's hard. I cannot run a webinar. That'd be ridiculous because people are not that interested, and it's not that many people. But I think it's a good idea to come up with things to give away something for free, but in order to get it, they need to email you or sign up with their email address, because then you have their address, and then you can. And I only post emails once in 2 or 3 months, because if I post all the time, they will probably mark it as spam, and they think it's annoying. But if you every now and then, I guess it's fine. So that's creating a funnel. It means that you make a funnel where you kind of collect everyone to start with, like all your viewers, and try to get them towards the pipe where they make a purchase. And that's really what marketing on social media really is about. It's to make them buy stuff from you. I'm afraid that I have emphasized the stuff about making content and not trying to sell things too much. So you might believe that it's not about marketing anymore. But that's the goal. The problem is you need to get them into your funnel to start with. And that's why you need to have content that appeals to them. And then step by step get them closer to actually buying something from you. A video production formula. There was a video clip in the YouTube module, and this is to have a formula or kind of a template for all your videos, so that not your first video is shot outside, you just speaking for 1 minute, then the next video is 9 minutes and it's edited inside a studio and so on. Try to make them look similar, because it more easily creates a habit with the viewer. When they click the video, when they see the next one, they know what to expect. So if they like the first one, they expect that the next one is going to be interesting as well.